Okay, guys, welcome to the call. My name is Gaurav Season, and I'm going to be your host for today. Okay, so today's call is going to be very different. We've been doing this for a while, and this call is going to be different in the sense that this is not a strategy call. Okay, and the reason why this is not a strategy call is because Trade House, the Go Life educators, they do an amazing job. Okay, explaining what the strategy is, what is the approach to the market, and whatnot. Today we're going to be talking about extra stuff. So we're going to be talking about what is it that you need to, number one, master yourself. Because for me, I believe that trading is a journey to self mastery. When you've self mastered yourself, you've pretty much that's when you can be consistent, that's when you can be profitable on the market. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I am joined with a special guest today. I'm going to get into him shortly, but as I said, today's call is going to be fairly different. It's designed to help you elevate in numerous of ways, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Okay, all of that is going to again enhance you, or help you take your trading to the next level. Okay, so guys, as I say, grab your pens and papers, put all of your distractions away. Okay, so this is your time. All right, if there's any questions, if there's anything that you guys need in terms of what you're struggling with right now, let us know. Put it in the chat, send it to me privately, or send it to Mike, and then we'll dig into that. And the last thing again, guys, just focus. Okay, focus, listen well. I did not pay Mike to be here today. I know Mike is a family man. He's got a lot of things going on. I know he just finished the gym, so he's got a lot of things to be doing with his time right now. Yet he actually took his time out and came on here to really share the nuggets, share his journey, share his story, so we can all be inspired and we can all elevate. So listen very carefully, be distraction free, and we're gonna get started. Okay, so guys, today, as I said, I am joined with the one and only Mr. Fibs and Profit. Okay, Fibs and Profits. He goes by the name by that name. His name is Mike. He's here today with us, and he's gonna be going on with what's he called on his story, which is gonna again inspire a lot of us. His journey, all his ups and downs. So ups on his early days when he wasn't seeing the results, when he was just taking baby steps to approaching the market, to learning the market, and where he is now, and what did he have to do to get to where he is now. Okay, so today he's actually mastered one of the hardest thing, and when it comes to the markets, which is Wyckoff theory. Okay, all of the accumulation and the distributions. The reason why I say this is one of the hardest things is because when it comes to smart money and institutional trading, it's fairly easy to identify some of the things such as equal lows, equal highs, the W patterns, the M patterns, and then just wait for the FU candlesticks and then pay attention to the reaction of the FU candlesticks or of the institutional candlesticks. But actually knowing how the market moves in waves, in accumulations and distributions, reaccumulations and redistributions, is actually one of the hardest things. The reason why is because it's going to require patience from you. It's going to require study from the market. Okay, it's going to require your trained eyes and experience, because it's you that's seeing the market, right? You need to identify those moves. Okay, cool. This is your primary support. This is this. This is that. All right. So one of the crazy things that he's done this, I think it was this week or last week, has actually been featured on Go Live. Okay, so go back to Zach McDonald's session. As I said, I can't remember if it was this week or last week. He's been featured. So that should tell you all about Mike. So Mike, if you're with us here today, can you hear me? I'm gonna spotlight you. So
I
yeah,
am. I am. Can you guys hear me?
yes, perfect. There you go.
Awesome. Perfect. How's everybody doing? I don't know where most of you guys are staying or residing, but I am in sunny Florida in the United States. It's about 3:15 in the afternoon and it's hot. So I did just get done with the gym. It was a nice little thing. I like to I'm very fit oriented. It's one of the things I do to get away from trading. So but yeah, I wanted to kind of just talk to you a little bit about my journey in trading, and I guess some keys to success that one of the things I like to do for my personal team and for teams that I've kind of gotten involved with is if I can cut down the journey, the time of that journey, by just one day, it's still a success. So if you guys do have any questions, throw them in the chat. I'll try to answer them. But a little bit of background, right? So I'm not your typical Forex trader. And what I mean by that is I'm definitely a little older. All right. I'll be turning 40 years old. Um, actually in January. So my journey started about 2.5 years ago. And, I had served in the United States military for a couple of years, and I was working in public service. I was in my 17th year of public service when, I really just decided, a change needed to be done. I was working, 80-hour weeks. I have 4 kids. I have a wife, and for the last, probably like 10 years, my kids were getting older. I have two teenage daughters that, I definitely wanted to, one, provide for them, but, two, I wanted to be there for them. All right. You know, essentially my job, I was a police officer in, in Miami, and I called it the Wild Wild West, but I would work, like I said, I'd work nights. I'd be in court during the day. I was, I did a lot of crazy shenanigans that took me away from home. So I wanted to find something that, I could escape from. And honestly, at my age at the time, I was in my mid 30s. I needed to find something that I can retire on. So um, it was actually pretty cool. One of my first field training officer, the guy who trained me to be a cop 17 years ago, his son is a chairman 25 in the IM Academy, and he kind of started showing me some stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, this is what I'm doing." He was a recently retired police officer, and he said, this is what I'm doing now. It provides for my family, and it gives me the time to not lose by working for somebody else, essentially working for yourself. So it took me about 2-3 months of going to the typical stuff, going to some of these promotional events and jumping on Zoom calls when I finally decided that it was time. So I joined IM Academy, or IML back then, in February of 2019, and the I would say the roughest part about it was the team that I had joined was fairly new, right? Even though we had like a master or a bigger team, the umbrella where I was under was a fairly new team. So it was a lot of trial and error. But most of my success early, I guess, came from just the I put into it, right? I had a goal. My goal was I needed to make enough money and learn the skill set to retire. Um, so with that in mind, I kind of flopped. I did, instead of working 80 hours a week, I was still present at work, but I started to learn and dedicate myself to understanding the Forex market. I would spend, and no joke, I mean, I probably spent 40 hours a week while I was at work. Whether I was working, in my police car or at my desk, something, I'd be either watching go live videos, I'd be jumping on Zoom calls with some people just to learn the skill. So a little bit of background, right, on strategy. When I first started, I actually started, I don't know if any of you guys have followed Chance and Samantha Ghanem, but I started doing pitchforks. And I really liked the concept of not having to be involved with, so many trades at one time. I understood a lot about risk and reward. I understood a lot about, the risk in the market. One of the good things, or one of the key things I tell, people that I mentor, is every time you push buy or sell to get into the market, you're risking your capital, right? You're risking your equity that you have. So if I could tell you that, a perfect example. So this week alone, right? We're Thursday for me here. I've only taken 6 trades this week. I've lost one, and so I've won 5 trades, and that's it. I'm done for the week. All right. I've made enough in those 5 trades that realistically, I could be done for the month if I wanted to. Okay. So it's all about quality over quantity. And that's one of the things a lot of young traders get hooked on, is they like to take multiple trades, and, there might be, I could tell you, I remember about a month ago, I went 2 weeks without taking a trade simply because nothing lined up with my confirmations. All right. And that leads me into actual confirmations. Right. So again, I spent a lot of time on Go Live, right? I spent a lot of time, and one of the things I tell students of mine and people on my team is don't limit yourself just to Go Live, right? A lot of these educators promote their social media for a reason, right? I could tell you, I used to follow Lex Waves a lot. He was one of the most, I think he's one of the most fundamentally sound traders in the company. I would reach out to him a dozens of times on Instagram, right? Um, I would reach out to a lot of the trade house guys. I'm pretty close with Zach McDonald, just because he by far is the most. I would say honestly, he's the most influential Go Live educator that has developed my trading skill, and it's just because the way he analyzes and explains the market to me is by far the most elaborate and it's the most sensible thing. All right. Not saying that any of the other educators don't do it, but I just think for me, it clicked with me. All right. I've been following Zach for a little over a year on Go Live. And we've connected on Instagram a lot. I share a lot of markups with him, especially in the beginning. I would share a lot because he would critique what was going on. The feedback you get from your charts is probably the most important thing. Um, Now, with that in mind, I could tell you right now, I spend more time back testing and journaling charts, okay, than I do trading, without a doubt, right? I could probably, I'll tell you right now, I probably spend, I'm at this point in my trading career, I've retired, right? I work from home, or I have two teenage daughters that are very big in volleyball. So we're on the road a lot, doing club volleyball or school volleyball. So I bring my laptop and my iPad and I'll be working from there. But I probably spend 4 hours every day just back testing the strategy that I employ, marking up charts. I probably, and I'll tell you, like, it all depends on the market, but I may have 6 or 7 markups every week that I'm willing to pull the trigger on, but I only end up pulling the trigger on 1 or 2 of them because of my confirmations. Again, I don't trade everything I see. In order for me to actually risk capital on a trade, it needs to line up with every one of my confirmations. And again, those confirmations were derived from my back testing. I went back and spent hours and hours. I have a trading partner. I call him my accountability partner, but we probably spend, over 250 hours in the last year just back testing Wyckoff with accumulation and distribution and understanding how to make our entries and what we need to see to actually pull the trigger to get into a trade. So that's one of the key things I would definitely employ you to do is have a trading partner. Whether you guys trade the same strategy or not, I mean, that's entirely up to you. I chose to have a trading partner that I can share a chart with and get honest feedback from. Every day. Listen, I don't, I consider myself a very profitable trader, but I don't consider myself the greatest trader in the world. So when I send him a chart and he sends a response back in Telegram telling me, well, no, I'm not looking for buys. I'm looking for sells because higher time frame. Or, he'll put a big X on my chart and then, have me look at something else. So that's what you want, right? You want that feedback. And I do the same thing to him, because when you get a set of eyes on a chart, there's something, some things that you just don't, see, you'll miss them because your natural bias, right? One of the things that I've learned is if I'm looking at a chart and I'm seeing sells, um, I like to go and either jog around my block or maybe go to the gym for the hour, come back and clear my head and then look at it again and see if I still see the same thing. If I'm undecided in a setup, the easiest thing that I do if I don't have 100% confluence in that setup, I go over to my trading view on the right hand side where the watch list is, and when you get over to the pair, you scroll all the way to the right. There's a little X that pops up. I hit the X and I take it off my watch list. If it doesn't look clean. And if it doesn't make sense, I don't force it. That's one of the things I teach a lot of the newer guys in my team is don't force trades, right? One of the, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard this before, but trading, when you're trading, you want no emotion, right? It should be emotionless altogether. You want it to be very boring. All right. And that's one of the things that, I can definitely, account for is trading for me is very boring, right? My excitement or my, um, the satisfaction I get out of trading is at the end of the day when I go to journal and I see that everything played out the way I wanted it to play out. That's where I get satisfaction. It's not actually when I hit TP and I close out and I see the dollar amount or I see the percentage. That really doesn't give me any more satisfaction anymore, right? Because, and realistically, it shouldn't, because then that's when you start to take unnecessary risks. All right. So for me, everything is a percentage game for me. All right. I trade my own capital and then I'm also a funded trader. So I trade, someone else's capital as well. And, it's extremely, extremely important not to get caught up in the actual dollar amount, but the percentages. All right. And what you risk, what you target, that's entirely up to you. I can tell you what I do, right? So I trade a 7-figure personal account, and then I trade a multiple 6-figure proprietary funded account. Okay. I only risk 0.5% on each trade, and there's a lot of people that when I tell them I risk, asking 0.25% on this trade, they're like, what? But that's how you have to think about it. There's a lot of, there's a lot of influences that go into deciding whether or not you're going to take a trade. And you really have to understand what your mind and what your eyes are seeing. Okay. So I only risk 0.5% because that allows me to take more losses. Okay. I only allow myself a total of 6% at risk per week. All right. So I don't risk more than 6% in any given week. So if I'm at 5.5% and I take that next loss at 0.5%, I'm done for the week, whether that was a Monday morning or Friday afternoon. All right. A trading plan is a very, very important thing to have. And I know a lot of people have told you, trading plans are a must, and they are, right? That's my Bible. That is literally my trading Bible. I have it printed out in my binder, and it's listed under the tab Trading Bible. All right. I have very specific rules. It fluctuates. I've definitely have changed my trading plan throughout the years. But yeah, I don't risk more than 0.5% on any trade. And then if I'm not 100% confident in the trade, but it's a trade that just makes sense, I'll risk 0.25%. I'll put a half lot on it. Okay. Um, but it all comes down to having confluence in your strategy and having confluence in your ability, right? So, to give you an example, like this morning, I took a trade on the NASDAQ. And, my trading partner looked at me and says, man, this thing's been dropping off all night. You're really going to take the risk? And I said, it lines up with my confirmations, and I never second guess a trade. If it lines up with the confirmations, I pull the trigger. And that's just because of the hours and hours and hours of back testing I've done. And it's also because of my journaling. All right. I have a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet that I use as a journal. So I have a digital journal. I copy the hyperlinks, like you can screenshot your charts and everything, and I post them into my journal. But I also have a binder, right? So I have 3 binders right now that I'm staring at. They're big 4-inch binders. And one is they're listed by year. So we're in 2020, so I have an indices 2020 binder. I have a commodities 2020 binder that has commodities like gold and oil, and then all my cryptocurrencies. And then I have my Forex 2020 binder. And I print out every chart. So what I like to do is, I do a progression. So the minute I identify a setup, I'll screenshot that chart, and that gets put into a folder on my computer. And then as the trade starts to materialize, I'll screenshot some more, so like when my confirmations are all lined up, I screenshot that and I list all my confirmations on that chart. I'll take the trade. And then while I'm managing the trade, I'll take some more screenshots. So, I mean, it could be as little as 5 or 6 charts in one setup, or, I had one the other day that I was sharing with the team and it was like 27 charts. And I put a lot of detail into my charts because I go back and I do it on Fridays, because Fridays I'm usually not trading. On Fridays, I go through every trade and every setup. Even if I didn't take the trade, I've journaled it. And I go through every setup from that week, and I take notes. There's little things, understanding correlations, understanding time of day, understanding fundamentally what happened, right? Like one of the notes I did today, this morning, I was trying to catch an accumulation on a 1 minute off US 30 before the market opened, before New York market opened. And I was in profit. I was at break even. And, I put in notes, the US unemployment change came in and took me out of the market. So I screenshotted that, put the notes in, printed it out, and it goes into my journal. So I understand how the market moved, right? And that's honestly what's helped me with the confidence to take trades. A lot of people have asked, how do you handle the losses, right? And you know, going back, I started with Chance and Sam doing pitchforks. I did enjoy pitchforks, right? Um, but I just wasn't having the success that I wanted to have in it. Okay. Like I felt like I would take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, which, in the grand scheme of things, you're still a profitable trader doing that. All right. And then I went over to retest. Um, and I started doing break and retest with like Christopher Derrick and stuff like that. And I had success. I'll tell you right now, I got to 6 figures just trading break and retest. All right. But I kind of wanted more because I felt that I was taking unnecessary losses and I didn't understand why. Right. And then that's when I honestly got turned on to the Trade House guys. And I started listening to what they were talking about. And it really got me thinking about market manipulation, how the market waves, and once I got an understanding, it really made sense. And I consider myself a student of the market, right? Even though I don't take the trade, I'm still going to chart it. I still get that confidence, or that really positive feeling when, I wake up in the morning and I look at the chart of, the dollar index, and I tell my wife, yeah, you know what, we're going up today. It's going to be an up day for the dollar index. And then we do it. Right. That brings me satisfaction because I truly have an understanding of what's going on in the market. All right. Um, so, once you have that, whatever strategy you do employ, right? Once you have that, you want to, embrace it, you want to maintain it. And then after that, trading is just easy. Risk management is probably the hardest part that a lot of people don't talk about, but it's probably the most influential part of trading. Because even if you're 51% accurate in trades, you're still profitable if you do proper risk management. Okay. I can tell you right now, I never violate any of my risk management rules. Okay. 0.5% risk. I never remove a stop loss. The only time I would ever remove my stop loss is to just change it to break even. And one of the things that, a lot of people kind of give me grief about is, I'm very quick to go to break even. All right. I'm very, very quick to go to break even. I have I don't have like a pip rule, like, oh, all right, 10 pips, I'm going to break even. For me, it's all about structure. So the minute it breaks structure, in the positive side that I'm looking at, I go to break even. All right. It's that simple. Because I would rather take a break even and have, the targets get hit and I just didn't go along for the ride than to lose capital. All right. Because for me, it's all about preservation of my hard-earned money. All right. And you'll start really understanding that when you have a larger account. All right. Because let's just say hypothetically, I am risking a 0.25%, or we'll just say 0.5%, right? I'm risking 0.5% on my account. Okay. That 0.5% is $5,000. Okay. So would I rather take a break even or lose $5,000 on a trade? Okay. And for me, I'd rather take the break even. All right. And then The other thing that I definitely stress to some of the newer traders in my group is when you're back testing and when you're demo trading, because that's one of the things I don't let, if someone's going to be my, like I call them trainees, but if someone's going to learn from me how to trade, I tell them, don't even worry about opening up a MetaTrader live account. All right. I'll tell you when you're ready, and let's get you on a demo trade. All right. I want to see 100 demo trades, and I want to see proper risk management. I want you to explain to me where you got in, what your exit strategy was, and what your thoughts were on the trade. And let me see your charts. All right. And obviously, as a new trader, you're not going to know any of that to begin with, right? But you learn it, right? And why not learn it on fake money when you can just get a new demo account every time you screw up, than wasting your hard-earned money. All right. So, I want to see a demo trade, and one of the things I got from Chance and Samantha was I want to see 100 demo trades, and I want to see what the pattern is in your demo trades. Okay. Um, Now, the other thing with demo trading and understanding the confidence that you get from your demo trading, this is, one of the things I got from a Mark Douglas seminar, right? Mark Douglas is probably one of the most influential trading psychology mentors that you can ever read. All right. If you haven't read his two books, Disciplined Trader and Trading Within the Zone, I highly suggest it. One of the things that I like to do is I have both books on audio. And when I'm starting to get a little stressed because of trades, right? Whether that be, the trade is just acting ridiculous, like gold has been the last 2 days for me. I go for a jog, right? I go for a jog or I go work out, right? I like to lift weights. And a lot of people laugh at me because, like, I got my AirPods in and I'm listening, and people think I'm listening to Spotify or some workout. No, I'm listening to Mark Douglas, right? And I wrote this down a little bit ago, and it's really stuck with me. So go back, and everyone should have an idea of what their trading strategy percentage rate is. Okay. I can tell you, for me, with my confirmations, I'm anywhere between like 71 and 77% winning. All right. Now, that doesn't mean that I lose, the 25%, because I actually don't lose that much. A lot of them are break evens. But what you want to do is, as long as, even if you're like 30% accurate, if you have a proper risk management, so for me, I only take trades that are a minimum of 5-to-1 return on investments. Okay. So if you understand what your typical ROI requirements are, and you understand what your strategy's winning percentage is, okay, from that, the psychology is pretty simple. All right. And this is what Mark Douglas said in one of his seminars that I was listening to. He said, just say hypothetically, you're you're in a casino, right? And you're talking to a buddy, and that buddy has a quarter, right? And in that quarter, it's heads or tails. But there's a weight, right? There's a weight on the head side of this quarter, which makes the head side a little heavier. All right. Now, the accuracy rate of that quarter is 60%, meaning 6 out of 10 times it's going to land on heads down, meaning tails up. All right. So you don't know when it's going to hit. All right. But I can guarantee you're going to win 6 out of 10 times if you call tails on a quarter, or whatever currency you want to use, Now, if you have just say hypothetically, a 3-to-1 ROI requirement on every trade, right? Meaning you're going to win 3% for every 1% that you are risking. And I told you that your accuracy is 60% accurate. You just don't know when it's going to be, right? You can go 3 wins in a row, or you can go 3 losses in a row, and then the rest all wins. You just don't know, right? No one truly knows what the market's going to do. But Mark Douglas says, if I were a betting man, if I told you that this quarter is going to land 60% of the time on tails, and I told you that for every $1 that you risk, I'm going to give you $3 for a win, are you going to take tails? And the answer is yes, right? Every time you're going to take yes. And that's why when my confirmations are met, I don't hesitate. I pull the trigger, I take the trade. The trade's going to do one of two things, right? It's going to hit my stop loss, or it's going to hit my alert to tell me to go and move my stop loss to break even and eventually go to take profit. Those are the only outcomes that are going to happen. Right. So a lot of people stress psychology wise, stress about trading. And there, and realistically, the only time you should be stressing about trading is if you've over leveraged yourself. Okay. Um, and that is probably one of the hardest things to understand. You know, if you're trading a $500 account, okay, and you're risking 1%, okay, then that 1% you shouldn't be afraid to lose that 1%. All right. Or if it's 2%, I mean, whatever it is, you should not be afraid of it. Okay. It's extremely important. All right. To understand the psychology in trading, because that's what the market is intending to do. The market is intending to cause fear and panic. And that's exactly why, I don't know if any of you guys have ever, seen this happen, but where you close out of a trade for a loss or a small win, and then the market goes in your direction. All right. Because they're key psychological levels. All right. And that's something that you really, really want to understand and identify, because once you can get into a position where psychologically you are, mastering your own trading, then it truly becomes extremely easy to to hit the buy and sell buttons. All right. For me, I don't hesitate. Like there was I used to run a boot camp, and I used to call it your sleep trade. Right. And a sleep trade is if you can, and I don't know if you guys have ever encountered this, but for me, because I get up during London sessions sometimes, and then I'll go back to bed. All right. When I was beginning my trading career, all right, I couldn't go back to bed if there was a trade open. All right. I couldn't do it. Whether that was just because like I was afraid of losing that money, or afraid of of not being able to manage it. um and I called it the sleep trade. Right. If you cannot go to sleep with an open trade, then you've done one of two things: you've over leveraged yourself, okay, or you don't have confidence in that setup. All right. The one trade I did lose was last night on Euro USD. All right. There was a small time accumulation schematic. I put the buy limit in, and I went to bed. I woke up, and guess what? I lost 0.5%, you know, but it was only 0.5%. Okay. That's all. In the grand scheme of things, that 0.5% was nothing to I think I ended up finishing the week off at like 17.25%. All right. It to me, it means nothing. All right. I don't look at the dollar amount. All right. I just look at the percentage, and that's how it goes in. Okay. Um, but that's kind of, essentially, my story and what I, like to put out there. I am trying to search, because I do have and I shared this on my Telegram. I'm looking for it now. I have a side-by-side picture just to give you guys, a glimpse of my very first trading day, trading. And then I think probably one of my better days recently. This was, a couple months ago, but I'm getting to it now. But do you guys have any questions? Or is there anything that you guys want me to like clarify on? I'll be happy to answer some questions.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Yeah. So whilst you're looking for that, Mike, I've got a couple of things that I want to get into. So obviously number one, you mentioned about how like you've got your trading journal. Now I've personally seen your trading journal because I've been watching your YouTube calls and stuff, and I know you
Okay.
you 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 especially use like Dropbox, and as you mentioned earlier, like you've got several pictures before, during, and after, and how it plays out. So if you wanna get, I know you touched about it earlier, but if you wanna get into it about how does that help you psychologically, how does that help your trading level up, go to the next level in terms of having pictures, and as you mentioned earlier, detailed annotation or text telling you what has happened or what you want to happen, kind of thing.
So yeah, and honestly, here I'll just share my screen. This may be the easiest thing. Bear with me here. Let's see. Can you just enable, and
Yep.
I'll share my screen. I'll give a little rundown on it. Let's see. I will go to. Hold on. Bear with me here. Move this up here. We'll go to desktop 2. Oh, no, desktop 3. That's what we'll do. Okay, there we go. Let me see. Can you guys see my screen, my desktop?
Yep. Now we can.
All right. Perfect. So just to give you an idea, right? So I have everything like my actual charts I have separated. But I'll kind of walk you through this real quick. And what I like to do, I have every trade that I've ever taken is broken down by accumulation or distribution. Um, and I'll just go over the trade I took today. And then obviously the dates I've taken them, right? So what I like to do is I screenshot as we go, and there's key things that I look for, but I'll kind of run it through. All right, we'll bring this over. There we go. Okay. So, one of the things that I do, right, is this. So I've identified a schematic, right? So this happened for me at 7:15 in the morning. I had my schematic, and I not to go through too crazy of my confirmations, but there's key confirmations in all of this that I need. Okay. All of this, I had my confirmations. I wanted to try to get into a position before the market opened at 9:30 in the morning for me. So, for me, this was my entry right here off of this 1 minute. All right. So this was the first chart that I took. And the confirmations were present for me. So the next thing I was looking to do was get into the trade. So okay. So the trade got activated, almost came to stop loss, right? Almost came to stop loss. But then obviously I got the reaction that I wanted to see. And this is one of the key things I want to see is I want to see a reaction. I want to see us break above previous structure. Okay. Now, as you can see, we're making higher highs, higher lows, higher high, higher low. So I really wanted to see us come above here. Once we were coming above there's where I was going to move my stop loss to break even and then let it ride. Okay, let it ride. Bear with me here. Okay, bam. All right, sorry. So as I'm managing the trade, right? As I'm managing the trade, you can see that at that point, right when I came to even, I went to break even, and you can see job claims news, boom, hit my break even hit. So I screenshotted this, right? This is in my journal. Did the schematic fail? I mean, technically it did, right? It's a failed schematic, but I'll still take this trade every day of the week. All right. I will still take this trade every day of the week. Now, I wasn't done with it. I went back and I started looking. So on a higher time frame, I have the weekly, right? I wanted to see, all right, potentially could we get down into the weekly time frame, of 50% of the weekly candle. And then I correlate. So I understand that on US 30, we did get to, where's my US 30? Oh, on US 30, right, we did get to 50% of the weekly candle. So, I journaled that. Those are things that I wrote down in my journal. And I wanted to see if there, was any correlation. And then obviously, here's my 1 minute view of the market opening, right, of the market opening. And, I saw the, the confirmation start to play out, right? We had some equal lows, liquidity. This was the FU candle. I had a 1 minute, point of interest here. I wanted to see if we would come back to, this was a setup I was ultimately looking for. All right. So as this trade kind of progressed, I started to look now, okay, we got equal highs. My agenda is here. I know that we should return back down into here to take up to this range right here. Now, I've got it on a 15-minute view because this, I go through different time frames, right? I'm not going to trade off just one time frame. The 15-minute to me looked cleaner. The risk to reward wasn't as nice, but for sometimes I'm not going to get into a trade that's just nice, right? If I want to get into this play, I have to understand that sometimes I might have to get a little bigger of a stop loss. All right. So from here, same thing, right? This was the FU candle. I wanted to come into here and then go up. Trades coming in. What were my confirmations? Well, we broke structure on the 15, right? We took this previous high, so that was my first confirmation that I wanted to see. And then the agenda just played out, right? We had equal lows, it FU'd. We showed that willingness to go higher, understanding that at 9:30 in the morning at equities open, there's always a manipulative move. All right. And kind of playing on with that, right? Now I'm in the trade, right? Trade came here. We got a nice reaction. And and ultimately it did come to take profit. I got to screenshot my, I'm going to have to screenshot my final thing, but here's, I'm currently in it, but I just took 80% off, but you could see the trade and boom, we went to target one. All right. Went to target one. So, understanding and putting as much information into all of these, and these are all ones setups that I had this week that I was looking at. But understanding, how to manage the trade has really helped with my psychology. Understanding, where I potentially have my take profits. I can tell you right now, before I entered this trade, I understood the agenda. I understood my exit strategies, right? I understood where my risk was. So before I ever hit the order to be put in, or the buy sell, I understood those three things. I will never get into a trade that I don't understand where my risk is, where my exits are, and overall, like, what the market is doing. Okay. So, that's kind of how I do that with, with the screenshots, with, like I said, I mean, there are plenty and plenty and plenty of of charts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So as I said, even myself, right? So ever since, I don't think anyone else, any of the training calls that I've plugged into, any like trading mentors that I've seen or anything, I don't think they do it as detailed as you. So again, I wanted to emphasize on the importance of it, and obviously how that can, change our mindset going into it. So that's very good. Thanks for sharing that, Mike. The other thing I wanted to kind of get
Awesome.
into,
Awesome.
which I feel like is kind of important, is timing. Now, you see, to me, timing is
Okay.
two things. It's man-made, and it's also it's an illusion, right? Because for you, relatively speaking, you've actually hit seven figures at a very short space of time, relatively speaking, to so many other people who've maybe done it in like 10 years, 15 years, whatever the case may be. So um again, a lot of us, speaking from a beginner level, we come into this, I am academy space, and then we let our imaginations go wild. We start to think like, oh, next month, next, couple of months, we're gonna start having the bills getting paid. We're gonna start having this and that. We're gonna buy this and that. And upon failing getting to those results, that's when we kind of start going down a little bit. That's when we start to have those disbeliefs,
Well,
and then that disbelief kind of go
yeah.
into failure of understanding the concept, and so forth and so forth. So for you, like, what what tips or any advice can you give in terms of timing when it comes to understanding the market and going into it to become a self-made trader?
So let me start with this, right? One of the one of the advantages, right, that I got, or that I had from, from trading, that most people don't get to have going into it, is my, my upbringing, right? So, a lot of traders are newer traders. They're, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. All right. Um, you know, Wherever you are in the world, when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, all right, I was going through some rigorous training. I was parachuting into Afghanistan. I was, I was part of a special operations unit in Iraq. So I went through a lot of mindset psychology training as an early, adult, that a lot of people don't have a privilege of doing, right? There's a lot that goes into overcoming your mind and pushing your body to extremes that some people just could never fathom, right? um, and that's one of the things that I think really gave me an edge in trading, because I kind of already had on how to control my emotions. um, I was a marksman. I wasn't necessarily a sniper. We had snipers, but I was a man who, there's some times where I'd be on a scope, for days, controlling my emotions, just waiting to take a shot. And when you have to actually do things in real life like that, and then translate that to a chart and have to control your emotions on the chart, it's a little bit easier. But I also understood how my mind worked. And I can tell you right now, one of the things that um, I would definitely, caution people on, and I'll just show you. So my Telegram, right? My Telegram is, I mean, I don't even know how many Telegrams I have, but I have a bazillion of them, right? A lot of people have thrown me in there. Okay. I mute most of them, right? I mute most of them. And the reason I mute most of them, I've actually gotten rid of a lot of them, is, a lot of people get caught up in the profits. People will show, and here's a great example. So I'll open up Discord right now, but, people love to show off how much money they've made, right? Um, but it's just, don't look at it as a dollar amount, right? Because what person might make, as a $10,000 profit in a day, um, is probably only 1% of their account, where on your $500 account, you just made $50, 10%, right? So don't focus so much on the profits. Here's a great example, right? So this is a Telegram or a Discord that I'm in with some people. Just to give you an idea, right? So like this person here made $16,000 today on gold, right? On gold. Idea how big that person's account is, right? I would imagine that if they're dropping 5 standard lots and 7.5 standard lots on gold, that they're trading a 7-figure account. All right. So a lot of people, I'll tell you right now, young trader, I would have been discouraged by this, because you know what? I want to make $16,000 a day. I do that, but it's just not possible if I don't have a 7-figure account. All right. You have to understand what the capabilities are. All right. One of the good things that I had was my very first tour. He was very adamant about showing me, and I continue it to this day, right? I have a demo account that I trade, that I show, and the demo account is $250. So I'll show that I made $14 today, right? Because that's powerful, right? 14, that's almost 7.5% that I've made. That's powerful. All right. A lot of people get caught up in that, in that issue of, I want to make a bazillion dollars this week, but I'm only trading a $300 account. All right. And that's one of the things that I would definitely caution people is don't get caught up in the telegrams, right? There's a lot of people that and I'll call them out on it sometimes. They're just fake traders. They'll have a demo account that they'll $1 million, they'll trade it, they'll blow it, show the one day where they made $36, right? Don't get caught up in that. Trade what you have. One of the things that my actual group, what we do is we don't share profits. We share our journal, right? We'll share our journal, and just like the screenshot of it, like, I made 7% today, or I made 2 today, and have a cutoff percentage. One of the things that I do is, I myself. So if I'm 10% for the week, I don't open another trade. If I'm currently up in trades, then I'll let it play out. But I don't, I don't like, I'm not very greedy, right? I'm okay. 10% for me is a lot of money. And I'm happy with that, right? I'm only risking 0.5%. So that's a 20-1. All right. I understand, what my profit targets are. So have a profit target. That's one of the key things. Hopefully that answers some questions.
Yep. Awesome, awesome. So, as we're coming up to an end, I just have one last question. Well, it's not really a
Sure.
question, but it's like key points, key action points that we can do. So, earlier you mentioned about how you've had that edge, but again, not a lot of people may have the experience that you've had in terms of the police force and obviously the wisdom, because you're older than a lot of us here. So what would be some of the key action points in terms of self mastery, so we can control our emotions? And you've got as your DP, your profile, if you can't control your emotions, so what would be some key points that you can give as we wrap up this call?
So I'll tell you right now, the biggest thing that, and I have some students that I've mentored One of them actually today just got verified through FTMO and has a funded account that he's trading, and he's only been trading 3 months. One of the key things that I stress to people, as far as like the emotion side of it, is get into that demo trade, right? Get into the demo account, journal every trade you take, all right, and understand why you lost. All right. If you can understand why you took the loss and you don't repeat those losses, that's going to give you the confidence, and confidence is going to eradicate your emotional distress when trading. All right. That is honestly the key to everything, right? Is your journaling. And when you're starting out, even if you're just going to a new strategy, right? When I went from break and retest to understanding smart money concepts and going into Wyckoff theory, I probably went through 4 or 5 demo accounts, right? Because I was just taking multiple losses. I wasn't understanding my confirmations. Okay. But and again, understanding your confirmations is derived from your journaling and from your back testing. It's all a big convoluted journey that all intertwines. But if you can get them all lined up, right? If you've learned how to properly journal your trades, if you've learned how to properly analyze the market and understand risk management, and then put all of that into a strategy that you can honestly say, like, everyone should be able to go into their journal and tell me, hey, what was your winning percentage in the month of October? If you can't tell me what your winning percentage was, then you're not journaling properly. Okay. And then, like I said, the whole quarter, thing from Mark Douglas, if that quarter, if I can guarantee you that you're going to win 7 out of 10 times, right? You understand that you're going to lose 3 out of those 10. All right. Psychologically, my biggest thing to overcome was actually taking a loss, right? Because all my life I've been taught losing is not an option, right? You lose, you die. So understanding and listen, I was very competitive growing up. I played baseball, I don't like to lose, but I understood that in this market, I need to lose to win. Okay. There's a great analogy to that is I might have on one setup, I might have 2 entries, right? I have a top entry and a bottom entry. And, people that jump on my Zoom call laugh because I'll literally sit there and I'll tell the market, I double dog dare you to hit my stop loss on the top, entry, because I'm going to take it from the bottom entry. And instead of getting a 17-1, I'm going to get a 42-1 ROI. So I want you to take my top entry. I dare you to take my top entry. And that's how I attack the market now psychologically, because I'm like, listen, I'm ready. I know where the market's going. I understand what, my bias is. I have a clear picture on it. My best trade that I ever took was a couple of weeks ago on a US 30. I got a 1-97. All right. Now I didn't ride the entire thing for the full lot. I took at when I was at a 1-25, I took half of my position off, but I still caught the rest of that move all the way down to the end. So I'm okay with it. I've gotten to the point where I'm okay taking losses. Like I said, my strategy, I'm right around like 71 to 77% accurate in my winning percentages. But that's okay, because I understand for every trade I lose, it's 0.5%. Every trade I win, it's a minimum of 2.5% I'm winning. So I'm okay with that. And that's the hardest part that some people have, is understanding that it's okay to lose. You're going to lose. No one is 100%. And that was probably my biggest obstacle to overcome. Again, it's just because I'm not geared to lose. I hate losing. So.
Of course. Don't know why that's blinking. Okay, cool, guys. That was powerful. Honestly, that was the most powerful call that I've actually been plugged into. So, Mike, thank you so much. One last thing that I actually just want to plug into, actually not plug in, but tap into, was I think what iPhone, I don't know who this person is, there's no name, but what iPhone said earlier, said, don't be afraid to use your demo. I just want to, tap on that again. We have we I don't know why a lot of people, we're afraid, or we feel some different oh, it's abs. Okay, cool. Lit. So So yeah, so we feel different. We have some different kind of feeling when we use demo. Okay, but one thing that I would say is if you're in your own lane, you're winning already. Okay, that trading needs to be like this at first, because you know, if you're focusing so much on what this person is doing and what that person is doing, just like Mike was talking about earlier about, you know, this person posting their profits and then whatnot, you don't know what, number one, what the account size is. You don't know if it's real, first of all, and lastly, you don't know if that person has been losing the rest of the week, and then today was this winning day. You don't know, but we're just, you know, taking the information for what we're saying. So guys, stay in your own lane, okay, and just focus on what you're doing. Because if you're focused on what you're doing, and if you're every day you wake up with one simple question: how can I better myself today? How can I better myself today? How can I better myself today? You're already winning. Okay, just take one small step. All right, Mike went over some key points, some great examples of what you can do every single day for you to level up. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to respect the time. So Mike, once again, thank you guys. If you can put a 111 for Mr. Fibs and Profit, be sure to, you know, follow him on Instagram, ask him any questions. He has dropped a couple of links on the chat. I'm going to, you know, leave it there for you guys to go into it. But lastly, guys, go and tap into his YouTube. Okay, his YouTube is powerful. I believe he does a weekly call every single week. So tap into that and learn, because you know, we're actually blessed. Imagine that, because he never had anyone like himself to be watching from. He had to do it by himself. But now our work automatically goes down by half, because we have someone like him to watch with, as well as Mr. Zach McDonald, who was his mentor. So guys, honestly, plug into all of the links that was there. And again, thank you to yourself, right? Because you know, you've actually taken the time to learn, and or as well as that too, you guys are going to apply the knowledge that you've gained from today. So guys, once again, Mike, thank you so much. We appreciate you, bro.
Absolutely,
And then just, you
absolutely.
know, yes sir, of course. So appreciate you, man. Send my love to your family, to your family members, to your daughter,
Awesome.
and let's go.
Just real quick, I dropped a Discord link in there.
Yep.
That isn't my personal Discord link, but that is a community of people that trade Wyckoff theory. If you guys are
Yep.
interested in Wyckoff, just jump into it. The guy that runs it, Sam, is a phenomenal trader. He's an FTMO funded trader as well. But just, yeah, definitely jump into the Discord. We do a bunch of Zooms in that, and yeah, happy trading. If you guys if you guys need any help, just message me on that Discord.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
There you go. Okay, guys.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
we'll see you guys on the other call. See you guys soon.